Okay, I think I'm online now. So let me just inform the Discord crew. And then we can begin. Oops. That's not it. Again, I need to automate this process. It's always a little confusing to start my streams and then have to manually inform people that I am live on the Discord. Let's see. Okay. Live now, and on camera. And let's get that music playing. You should be hearing it, though I am not. Looks like my iPad is fighting with my computer for it keeps on trying to connect to them. Hang on a second. I'm going to teach my iPad not to keep on connecting. And if that doesn't work, I will just move my iPad out of the way. Oh gosh. One more second. Hi, Rem. Hi, Rem. Oh, Marissa Kirasame. Good to see you. Good to see you. That is, thank you for joining me. It's nice to have company. Okay, I just gotta make sure my audio is set up here. Or move this thing away. Let's see. Connected. Aha. Do not automatically connect. This is so funny. I have to fight with my Mac to disconnect it. Yeah, there we go. Got it. Okay. Shouldn't fight me anymore. Fantastic. And let's try the music. There we go. There we go. We're set. We're set. Okay. The agenda today is I did an unboxing live stream and a testing live stream with the Wacom 114. I think last week. Yeah, I think last week. And I've been working on really writing up. You know, I don't call myself a reviewer, but that's the word people use. So I have a review of the tablet, what I call my notes. And I've been working on the content for a couple of days. And my plan was to record the video tomorrow. But I thought before I do that, you know, let's use the live stream as a way of doing a dry run so that your input and your questions and any feedback you have is taken into account early. That way, when I actually publish the video, it'll answer the questions people actually have. Okay? And Rem, thank you so much. Okay, so I have a slide deck which I'm gonna project, but before I do that, I gotta set up a. Oh, there's a bot, Marisa Kurisame. Okay, I'm gonna have to research that. What I want is press a button and it just informs multiple locations like Discord and Twitter X, maybe even the Reddit subreddits, and that would really simplify my life. Okay, So let me get my Surface laptop connected to power, because it's going to be showing the presentation, which Assure, yes, that is correct. It uses the Wacom 1 standard pen, which I'll be talking about. I did a lot of testing today. CP923. It comes with that pen. Okay, so let me move my keyboard out of the way. And I'm going to just plug in the the Wacom 1, which is right in front of me. And then we'll begin our discussions. Oh yeah, you're right, Marissa Kirasame. It is so, you're going to see how confusing it is even in this video. But I'm going to actually talk about that extensively in this review. Rem, okay, I will call you Rem. I will call you Rem. I'm happy to do that. Very happy to do that. People always mess with my mind with naming, and it's very hard to remember. Wacom 1 fanboy is Skitsy. Martin is Nizio, right? Cube is some name I don't know how to pronounce. It gets me very twisted up. Okay, hang on. Sorry for the delay. We just got to get a little bit sorted out here. Let's start PowerPoint here. Actually, I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to configure this display. Keep changes. Identify one. And then duplicate desktop on 2 and 3. Okay, we're good. We're good. Now let me launch PowerPoint. And it's downloading it. Let's take a look here. Yeah, I like to have the comments sometimes. That way people know what I'm responding to. Rem. Oh, Rem, you've changed your name. Okay. Let's see. Wacom 1 pen tablet. Yeah, that's correct. That is the same. I actually want to do a video about the the Wacom consumer line of pen tablets, just to clarify things. Okay, let me project. Hopefully this will do what I think it does. Okay, fantastic, fantastic. Okay, let us now. There we go. We're set. We're set. So yeah, this is a draft review of the Wacom 114 model number DTC-141. Originally, I was scheduling for October 1st. It's taken me a little bit longer to go through this. So yeah, this is what you see on the Wacom website. It's actually a little confusing because it just says Wacom 1, where your creative dreams begin. And one thing, we'll talk about the naming later, but I wanted to just start with my summary, which is, this is a decent entry-level tablet, entry-level consumer pen display. It's not the greatest tablet in the world. There are definitely better pen displays, but it's decent. And for some people, it will be a good purchase. One thing that strikes me is that it actually comes in at a relatively competitive price. It's $300. You might see competitors at $250. And we can talk about specific competitors. I'm sure there are going to be a lot of questions about the Canvas 13 Gen 3. But this is a competitive price. Now, it's decent. What does that mean? The drawing experience is okay. Actually, and I'll talk about it later, the drawing experience in a lot of ways is actually good, like really good. But there's one thing that keeps it in the okay category, and that is the pressure sense, how pressure works. Now, part of that is due to the pen, and part of that is due to the tablet, and you'll see what I'm talking about, but I think it's mostly the pen, actually. Now, Wacom is a very reliable brand. They've been in the business of making drawing tablets now for people for 40 years, so that's saying something. And I think a lot of people, I think Wacom is the safe choice. So I'm very sure it's going to be a popular choice this holiday season, which is just about to begin. Let me take a look at the comments on the Discord. Okay, they're talking about the confusion of the Wacom naming. So ultimately, do I recommend this tablet? And the answer is yes, for certain scenarios. And we'll talk about what those are. One thing I want to highlight here, because it is so important, is the pen. And I don't think I repeat this often enough, but you need to understand that there are some aspects about pressure sensitivity which are completely driven by the pen. Like pressure levels are created by the tablet, but the IAF and the maximum physical pressure that the pen can detect, those are attributes of the hardware of the pen itself, okay? So this theme of that pen and what I think about it is very important, but I want you to know that. The second thing I need you to really understand is that it's about the way this tablet will connect to your computer. And it will work best, I think it is intended for USB-C connections. This seems like a trivial point, but what you'll come to see is that if you need to connect with HDMI, it's gonna create some real challenges, okay? Both in terms of complexity and money. You'll have to spend more money. I'll talk about that in detail later in this video. Okay. JL, yeah, Wacoms have been very active this year. In the Discord, I was actually talking to, to the Discord crew, and my feeling right now is, last December 2024, I did a drawing tablet awards show. And last year was Huiyan's year. 2024 is filled with Huiyan releasing lots of good tablets, like the Canvas Pro, 19 and the Canvas 13 Gen 3. Just a fantastic year. They introduced Pentec 4.0. It was their year all around. And this year, right now, it's going to be the year of Wacom. I know we still have a few more, we have 2 more months before the year ends, 2 or 3 more months, but they are really doing a good job. And with the moving pad, 2 releases, we had 2 pen displays from the Cintiq line, which turned out to be really good. I like them. We had, of course, the Moving 114, which the Wacom 114. So it's been, and of course, the Intuos Pro 2025. A super active year, and I think they've released some great stuff. And in particular, the moving pad is, I think it might be my device of the year, honestly, my tablet of the year. Okay, let's take a look at the comments. Dermont says, let's see, I'm late. Hey, no worries, Dermont, and thank you for joining us. But is it the same as the previous one, the S Pen? Is it better now? It is very similar to the previous Wacom 113 Touch. I'll talk about the nature of the similarity and what might be better. And I'll revisit the all Wacom 1 previous models a little bit as well. And Hera has joined us. Super unfortunate that this tablet only uses UDEMR, even if we had to buy Pro Pen separately. I'd love the compatibility. Hera, I'm 100% with you. It's a little bit of a tragedy. And I understand why they do it, but I think it's going to be a challenging position for Wacom to maintain the way this works, which is using these UDEMR pens. I don't object to the consumer line coming with the UDEMR pen. I don't object to them being compatible with UDEMR pens. I am stressed by the fact that you can only use UDEMR pens. Okay? And we will talk about the issues with UDEMR. And Rem says, for that price, kind of disappointing when you can get XP Pen and Huion with better pen tech. Yeah, I agree. It's, I honestly, Dermot, I think they're going to need to experience a little more pain to change their position. We will see. We will see how options like Huion and Canvas 13 Gen 3, which is a better tablet. I'm just going to be clear on this topic. The Canvas 13 Gen 3 is a better tablet than this tablet if you care about the drawing experience. The XP Pen Artist 13 Gen 2 is a better tablet if you care about drawing. There's no doubt in my mind. And they actually have some other benefits, which we'll talk about as well. But this is 14 inches, so that is one advantage it definitely has. Okay, let's move on. And what I want to talk about is where I think the scenarios that this tablet will work well in. So I would say, honestly, if you're doing light creative work that involves pressure-sensitive strokes, or certainly, if you don't need pressure, this will work great. And when I say light, I mean you're not really doing you don't consider yourself a kind of like artist, okay? If you need to draw a diagram, this will work fantastic. If you need to, for example, if you're doing like a Khan Academy style video, this will work great. Or you're in an online meeting and you need to make a diagram there or whiteboard, it'll be fantastic for that. No problem with this tablet for those uses, right? If you're an artist, it's going to pose some problems, right? So when we talk about who this tablet's for, this could be a good choice for people who are beginners in their digital art journey. And by beginners, I really am talking about people who have never used a tablet before. But you have to be careful here, because if you have developed expectations from an iPad has really low IAF with their Apple Pencil, then this may not be the right tablet for you. Imagine you're a parent buying a gift for someone, a child, and your child, he uses an iPad. There are advantages with pen displays in general, but they might notice that the IAF is high in this tablet, and it is. And they might be very irritated by that. So if you just need basic pen support, again, you're diagramming or something, this is absolutely fine, right? I would not recommend this for someone who's really like, I want to create manga and I want to create, anything that requires sort of pressure sensitivity. It can do it fine, but the IAF is high and the pen has a limited pressure range. And like I said, if the people who should not get this tablet are people who have experience using a Wacom professional tablet. It's gonna be a real problem because you're not gonna be happy with this. Guaranteed. If you want to get it as like a low-cost backup, I guess, but be prepared for the IAF. So if you have expectations around it, this is not the tablet for you. Okay, let me take a look at the comments. And let's see. Rem says 14 is a bit small for me. I can see the appeal. Yeah, it's a little high price for what it is. A little. And probably the drivers are good. Let's check. Nakdi has a good comment about the different kind of... we may look at this later in the stream about positioning different Wacom consumer products. I really like what he's done there. Okay, so I put a policeman peepo here for a reason. And you need to be aware of something. You absolutely must be aware of something before you buy the tablet. If you do not think about this and understand it, you're going to be extremely unhappy. Okay? So I just want to reiterate, I'm going to repeat this multiple times in the video. Before you buy, you're going to have to exactly understand how it's going to connect to your computer. If you do not do this, you have the potential in some cases to be very unhappy and frustrated. And then sometimes not only the potential, you are certainly going to be unhappy and frustrated. And this has nothing to do with pressure sensitivity. It just has to deal, believe it or not, with cabling. It's weird. There's lots to go into on this topic. We're going to get to it later in the video. But I'm just going to set it up for you now. You need to do it. So to summarize the problem, if you need to connect with HDMI, you're going to have to spend $100 extra. That's a lot to deal with, okay? A lot to deal with. And we'll explain exactly why you're going to have to spend another $100. Rain, I will cover that. I will cover that, okay? We're going to get there. Let's see. Harris says, it's such a shame because I like this form factor way more than the Moving 13. If they release the Moving 13, this form factor. When you say form factor, Rain, are you talking about like the size and shape of this? Like you want it thicker? Like this tablet is? But I'm curious why, because most people would say they like the extreme thinness of the Moving. That's why I'm very curious about the comment. So let's see, Dermont says, interesting. So a jump from a pen tablet to this is really not better for a pen feeling perspective, like they say, entry level and tools. Yeah, we'll talk about it, and it's a good question when we get to the section on surface texture. Okay, now let's talk about, let me edit this slide real quick, since we are going through a draft here. Shape format. Oh, you can't see it, so I apologize. I just need to do a little bit of, where is the range here? There we go. Okay, this is, you know how obsessed I am with names. And they're, yeah, Dermond, yes, $100. We're going to talk about it, and I'm going to show you exactly why. So it is sort of my running joke that Wacom just does some wild things with names. I'm not exactly sure why it goes this way, but I do think their policy of naming causes a lot of confusion. And unfortunately, things haven't gotten simpler here. So first of all, we have the eternal problem of they have two pen tablets called One by Wacom. And they have 6 tablets that are called Wacom One. They're both low-end consumer tablets. Wacom One can be pen displays and pen tablets. So we're talking about one of them, the very latest one released in 2025, the Wacom 114. Model number DTC-141. You're going to get so tired of me saying DTC-141 in this video because that's the only way I have to disambiguate these tablets, okay? So, I see I have a mistake here. Wacom 113 should say 2023, of course, okay? Okay, so now that you know that there's this naming confusion, there's our next confusion, which is not confusion, but like we have to understand what the Wacom One family is. And again, pay attention to the model numbers. Why do I emphasize this? Because the names are so close to each other, for sure someone's going to buy the wrong tablet. They're going to buy the wrong tablet. It's going to happen. And it could happen accidentally, and it could happen because a retailer has messed up the names. And this happens. This absolutely happens. Where a retailer or someone selling it on Amazon or eBay, they've crossed the names up, and they don't know because they're not tablet people. They don't pay attention to the same degree that obviously I do. And they're not trying to scam anybody, but it happens. So pay attention, please. Let's see, Hera replied to my previous question. The size and shape, yes. The movement through so delicate. I was scared to carry around. The thinner bezel is also nice for a portable tablet. It's basically, yeah, I get it, Hera. I get it. It does give you the sense of delicate. To me, in my mind, I'll use this piece of paper here. When I first got the Moving, I was actually scared of it almost bending and creasing. Because it's so thin, I feel like it could easily do that, right? It's more stiff than that, but I'm still super scared of that. Let's see. It's giving Mark by Marc Jacobs. Okay. Marc Jacobs is, wait a second. Let me make sure I remember exactly Marc Jacobs here. Hang on. I believe, because there's something funny about this. I'm pretty sure. I may be mistaken. It may be a different person, but I'm pretty sure there was a cologne called Mark by Marc Jacobs, and then I actually wore that cologne because my girlfriend really liked it at the time. I liked it. It was a little too floral for me. My favorite was actually what is it? I can't remember it at the time. Egoist, Chanel Egoist. That was my favorite. Let's see. There's a whole meme about naming system Marc Jacobs. Okay, I get it. Yeah, I could see it. I swear to God, I'm gonna go see if I have Mark. But you know what? Hang on. I'll be right back. Okay, yeah, my memory played tricks on me. It wasn't Mark. It was. I don't know if you can see this. Oh, I'm holding it upside down and backwards. It's Michael. I think this is Michael Kors. Actually, is it still floral? Yeah. Every time I smell this, I think of her. As a good boyfriend, I put it on religiously when we went out. Let's see. There's a big store in my country that's named into us. I make that misspelling all the time. I feel like, Rain says, I feel like they will release a new moving pen display soon. Hey, I hope so. I want one. Harris sent it in the Discord. Let me take a look here. Let's take a look. Oh yeah, okay. This has been, you people you'll love this one. Hang on. Look at that. Jacobs by Marc Jacobs for Mark by Marc Jacobs in collaboration with Marc Jacobs for Mark by Marc Jacobs. Is this real or this can't be real? But it would be. I could see how it might actually happen though. That's good. I like that era. Okay, let's get back to things besides cologne and Marc Jacobs. 1 second. Okay, so yeah, the Wacom One family. You got to understand it. And I need to hide my face for this. So what we have is basically the Wacom One line has basically 3 eras, right? 2019, they came out with a pen display called the Wacom One. That's the DTC-133. You'll see that listed sometimes as just Wacom One, and sometimes you'll see it listed as Wacom 113. Okay, so just be aware of that. In 2023, they came out with 4 tablets, 2 pen displays, and 2 pen tablets. Now, let's start with the pen tablets because these were called the Wacom 1S and Wacom 1M. I did not like these tablets. The pressure handling, they exhibited a problem called pressure banding. That's why a new name for it anyway, and it was not good. I did not enjoy that. They issued a firmware update to improve it. It's gotten a lot better, but I still don't recommend them. Then they also had these two pen displays, the Wacom 112 and Wacom 113 Touch. Notice the word touch is in the name. DTH-134. I didn't recommend these either for, I felt like they may have had some of the same pen problems. I wasn't happy with the pen at the time. And I felt they were too expensive. The Wacom 113 Touch was super expensive. I think it was like $500. And I was like, it was just too much, out of range, okay? So I didn't really recommend them either. I just told people don't buy any of these 4 tablets. Then in 2025, they released the Wacom 114. That's the one we're talking about, the DTC-141. And again, I'm showing this to you so everyone knows the full Wacom 1 family, and you know which one we're talking about, you know which one I recommend, which is the Wacom 114. Ram asks, I wonder how it compares to the Artist 13 Gen 2, especially given the price difference. Yeah, I would recommend the Artist 13 Gen 2 over this tablet, absolutely. And that's a great question. I should make sure we specifically talk about that. Okay, let's see. Get back to this thing. Okay, so am I not? Here we go. Okay, it comes in this box, and Wacom has actually added a little splash of color. It's not so obvious here. I think there's some reddish, brownish, and bluish ink. So I guess it's still to be eco-friendly, but at least it's not just black ink. Okay. Okay, and this is the front. Nothing exciting. It's just a black rectangle, and it's got the pen loop on top. The back is nothing exciting either. It's exactly the way exactly what you'd expect. It's it feels like a consumer pen display. This is going to come up later. Notice there's only one USB-C port. That's super important. That is super important. It will come up later. There are 2 buttons: power and OSD, on-screen display. One powers it up, and the other one puts on the on-screen display. So nothing surprising. I do find myself accidentally touching the on-screen display button probably too often, but that could just be because I'm clumsy, right? Dermond, yeah, it's a little surprising. Again, this is a consumer tablet. I would expect better. I mean, I understand the reason they do it, but it's an artist, it's correct, Ram. No stand, and we'll talk about that topic specifically. So, okay, there's one more thing here to notice, which is the back. How it's labeled, it's really funny. It is actually labeled as Wacom 1 on the tablet itself. It does not literally say Wacom 114. So this, again, is going to confuse people, right? It's so strange. It doesn't have any feet that lift up, Dermont. But you can see the model number, DTC-141. So again, this is kind of a weird thing, right? Again, I wish they would just get this right. Yes, Ram, you need to buy, and we're going to talk about the specific accessory. Okay, so let's get my face back on and move on to the next topic. So this is the size. Nothing surprising about it. It's a 14-inch 14-inch tablet, and it's very close to being exactly 14 inches. It's not like 13.5. I think it may be like 13.9, right? But basically 14 inches with the 16:9 aspect ratio. Pretty typical stuff. Now, bezels. Well, bezels have had a journey. As you know, Wacom has... you ever hear that phrase, global war on terror? Or how did W. Bush say it? War on terror. Wacom is waging a global war on bezels. And they have prosecuted this war into the Wacom 1 line. You can see every year they have just chipped away a little bit of the bezels. So the funny thing is about this device, it's a little bit longer, I think, than the previous ones. It's about the same, but really it's the same size. It's not taller, but because the bezels are shrunk, you get a bigger screen. The others are like 13.3. You get basically a 14-inch display, but it's actually kind of a smaller device. It's also a bit thinner, right? But you can see the bezels are really thick. I don't think this matters too much. I know we had a large amount of people with the Intuos Pro complaining about the bezels getting smaller. I've gotten used to it, but if you're sensitive to the bezels, you should know that that's what's going on with this device. You have much smaller bezels. And it's if I had to guess, I would say it's 1/2 inch on each side of the bezel. I don't know, what is that? 10 millimeters, something like that. Let's see, Harris says, bezels should be removable. They should just make stands that have bezels built in. I only want bezels when I'm taking home. If I go to a cafe, I want to... Okay, interesting. They have to have a little bit of a bezel because the digitizer has to be bigger than the screen to keep it accurate at the edges. But I can understand where you don't want them sometimes. Okay. So what do you get in the box? There's not a lot, actually. You just get, besides the quick start guide, a piece of paper. I think this is it, actually. Let me double check. Or this is maybe a warranty. Oh no, quick start guide is this thing. It's literally that's it. That's the entire guide. And so you get a cable, you get the tablet, you get a pen, 3 nibs, and a nib remover. That's the C, little metal nib remover. So let's just talk about the core specs. So overall, I have to just say this. These specs are fine. No one needs to stress about these specs. Some of you are probably going to notice that it says 4,096 pressure levels. You don't need 4,000. You can get by with 2,000. Especially for the scenarios, I think this tablet's good. You can get by with far less. So you don't need to, no one needs to stress about any of these specs. Okay, it's fine. It's absolutely fine. Rem, wait till you see the extra criminal. Trust me, there is more criminality coming, right? When we get to the topic of HDMI. Now, what about the screen? It's a 1920 by 1080. So, it's the same resolution as the other Wacom One pen displays. Wacom says it's an anti-glare plus anti-fingerprint glass. And, etched glass. I'm not sure if I really felt it really protected that much on fingerprints, but I'll take their word for it. It's laminated, what they call bonded. It's pretty typical now. It used to be a thing only in professional pen displays, but now we see it increasingly often in consumer pen displays, so that's nice. IPS panel, good. The original Wacom one did not have an IPS panel. The ones in 2023 did. This just continues that. 1001 contrast ratio, pretty typical. Brightness, 285 nits. Oddly enough, I use it, or I have been using it at just 50% brightness. Okay, so it's fine. Dermont, I'm not ready to say goodbye to HDMI. It feels like Apple is going to remove HDMI on all their devices soon. Yeah, that's a good point. And I have mostly switched to avoiding HDMI now. I only do it when I have to. I use either DisplayPort or USB-C. But I was careful in picking my computers and laptops to make sure they had the right ports. So response time is 16 milliseconds, which is typical, unfortunately, for pen displays. They tend not to have great response times. 8 bits per pixel, so 24-bit color. So 16 million colors. So again, very typical, and typical sRGB color gamut. Nothing special, nothing to worry about here. All fine. You may notice again that its native resolution is 1920 by 1080. You might be concerned it appears more pixelated because it's a bigger screen than the same resolution at 13. There's no difference really. I don't think my eyes picked up that this had a lower what do they call it? PPI, pixel per inch, than the previous displays. Rem, yeah, I use DisplayPort. For anything that isn't a pen display, I just use DisplayPort because it's got good support. It works extremely well. I think it's been more reliable than HDMI. Okay. So here's the pen. Okay. And it's the Wacom One Standard pen, model number CP923. CP923. It does have 2 buttons. It may not look like it, but it's kind of like on a rocker. So there are 2 buttons. No eraser. And the pen is customizable. So it's sort of in 2 parts, and you can actually replace the top and the bottom. So for the bottom, it's either white or gray. You can buy like a gray bottom part. And then on the top, there's several colors like lime green. This tablet came with this exact pen with the dark gray top, okay? Now IAF, I did some measurements, a bunch of UD-EMR pens. We'll talk more about it, but basically for the CP923 series, I see basically between 5 gram force and 9 gram force, depends on the unit, which is high. So if you're used to like a Pro Pen 2 or a, let's say even the XP Pen X3 Pro, you're gonna notice it. You're gonna notice that you're drawing with higher IAF. You're gonna have to press harder to make a stroke. And between the different units, I see the maximum pressure between 200 to 250 gram force, which is okay. It's acceptable. Not great, it's acceptable. We're gonna get to that shortly, Eddie, but the answer is it is not compatible with a Pro Pen 2. See, Dermond, still on a Thunderbolt mini display to HDMI. Yeah, I use that sometimes too. Mostly when I need to connect to a TV. Okay. So this is the pen, and it's cheap. Well, it's cheap or inexpensive, I should say. Cheap sounds bad. It's $35, the Wacom One Standard pen. And it's not a great pen, right? And but it's cheap. So I often, for like the Moving 13, I actually suggest getting one of these pens or other UD-EMR pens as a backup, right? For those tablets that support it, because you won't enjoy it, but at least, you know, it'll get you through an emergency. A 5 gram starting pressure seems like, oh, it's just asking for it to break. I mean, physically, it's not too much in terms of like danger to the pen, but you'll notice it. You'll notice it. Some people will be driven absolutely batty by a pen with 5 gram force. But some people can deal with it. Again, if you're just doing diagrams for whiteboarding, you might not notice it at all. Yeah, I don't think I've seen nibs break anywhere close to this range, right? I haven't seen that, at least in my experience. And I've really put pressure on pens, like a lot. Like, you know, 700 gram force, that kind of thing. I don't, Rem, I do not expect the nib to wear out easily because the surface texture is not, it's very, it's only a light texture. So I don't think it's going to be wear down much at all. If at all. Canvas 13 Gen 3 is 10 times better for about the same price. Yeah, Eddie, I'm glad you brought that up. This Canvas 13 Gen 3 is a better choice. There's no doubt in my mind about that. The only thing this tablet gives you is that it's from Wacom. And that might be important to you. And Wacom, I believe, is more reliable in terms of their support and their, just device reliability. Now, Huion is getting better every year. So is XP Pen. But for some people, they won't buy. They will only buy Wacom, and so this is what you get. What other tablet is 5 grams? Because it does feel a lot. I don't think I've ever used something like that. It's not the tablet, Dermond. It's the pen. It's the pen. We can talk about it. I have some data I can show you later in the video. But basically, all UD-EMR pens are in that range. Okay? They're all in that range. And it does feel like a lot. To give you a comparison, the X3 Pro pens are like 3 gram force or slightly less usually, like 2.8. So in my measurements anyway. Now we come to pen compatibility. And so here, now there's lots of UD-EMR pens. But these are all the ones I have that I tested with this device. They all worked fine. They all worked absolutely fine. Okay, and some people feel like they don't like the CP923. They prefer using the old Wacom 1 pen. I think, they're not great pens either, but sometimes I feel like they are better than the CP923 because they have a wider pressure range, which I've measured. Their IAF can be about the same though. I'm not entirely sure. REM, yes, the UDMR is what the S Pen uses. That's exactly right. So I have S Pens. I can just bring them over here and use it with this, right? Hey, Yafo, good to see you. Good to see you. That's right, German. I was measuring a lot of pens, and I did try all these. Okay, and there was a question already about which pens are not compatible, and yeah, any Pro Pen, any professional pen from Wacom, like the Pro Pen 3, Pro Pen 2, Art Pen, don't even bother thinking about it. They are not compatible with this tablet. Let's see, California inking. Every situation is different, but I had an excellent experience with Huion replacing my pen display for free. That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, some people have a good experience with Huion. There's no doubt about that. It is true, right? And thank you so much for the comment, California inking. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. Let's see, Rem says, at least if the pen breaks or you lose it, you don't even pay like $100 for a new one. Well, remember the Pro Pen 3 is $130. The Pro Pen 2 is cheap at $80, so that's a real cost. I always think when you buy a tablet, you should buy a spare pen. I really always think that, right? Because pens have a kind of magic to them. They break when you're like 24 hours before a deadline, right? You either lose them or they break. They just magically know when to stop working. Same with the drivers. But with the pens, it's so good to have a backup. And it lets you diagnose what the problem is as well. Jeffo, good to see you've been watching, but I'm usually working. Dan's lurking. Got it. Okay. So let's talk about the display. So here are all the topics I'm going to address, okay? And we'll address them one by one. So anti-glare sparkle was good. It's pretty low, so I was very happy with that. You'd have to put your eye really close to notice it. It's less of a rainbow and more of a slight kind of darkness going up and down. Again, very little. Not as good as a Cintiq Pro, but it's good. It's good. So I don't have a problem with it. And everyone in general is getting better with this topic. But Wacom has always been good. Viewing angles. So, I tilted you can see it on camera. I tilted this many different ways, and honestly, the viewing angles were great. You'd have to get at like an angle like this, where like basically all I see is a reflection, and I couldn't even read anything, even if I could see it. In any normal situation, you'll be happy with it. And what I found really interesting, there's basically no color shift. Like it didn't go into purple and oranges and yellows like you see with some displays. So I was super happy with that. Display is good. I really think this is a good display, right? Is it a pro display? No, but it's a good display. Solid. Yeah, good. Spare pen is always a good idea. And thank you for that comment, Ren. I really do appreciate it. Okay, surface protection. So this tablet uses what I'm sure someday Wacom is going to call it nano glass or something, but it's etched glass, what they call anti-glare, anti-reflective surface. So there's nothing special about it. Lots of tablets have this kind of glass. But do notice, like the first Wacom one from 2019 actually came with basically a non-removable screen protector. This has no screen protector. So if you scratch this glass, that's all there is to it. And Wacom does not sell an optional screen protector for this tablet. So if you are one of those people who has a history of scratching the glass of a tablet, or you're just nervous about it, you're gonna have to buy a third-party solution. Photodon, at least I've tried some of their samples, so I can say that they're an interesting choice because you get to pick how much anti-reflective coating you have. There are different models of protector. You don't need the one with anti-reflective anything. You can just do a clear protector. So it's going to cost you probably, I don't know what the price would be, like $30, $20 to get one for this size. And there are other people that do it. So just be on the lookout for that. If you want to protect this, if you're going to put it in an environment with kids, like you're a teacher, you might want to get a surface protector because it'll just extend the lifetime of this device. Because remember, once you scratch them, there's no fixing. There is no fixing scratches to these devices. Okay. So what about display sharpness? Here's a photo I took with my camera. The pixels were sharp, and I always say well delineated, meaning they're very square looking. Okay. And so no complaints there. It's exactly what you'd expect. Super happy with it. Some pen displays have a bit of softness. Didn't see any of that here. Pixelation, I think I mentioned this earlier. How noticeable are the pixels? Well, they're very typical for this kind of device size. Even though it has slightly lower pixels per inch than 13-inch models, didn't really notice that. So I'm fine with that. If you're extremely sensitive to pixelation, you might want to get, not that I know of, but a 13-inch tablet with higher resolution, right? And some of those exist, but some of those I don't recommend because they're kind of older devices. But if you're sensitive to resolution, I think you wouldn't be getting this device anyway. Okay, now for the meat of it all, the drawing performance. And let me take some water. Okay, so these are all the topics we're going to talk about for drawing experience. And I would just say overall, things are okay. This is an okay tablet. Remember, why do I rate it okay? Actually, most of these are good. Not just almost every item on this list is actually good, or excellent. But the pressure is the issue. That's why I give it an okay. Okay? So if you're not drawing with pressure, it's a good tablet. If you don't really care about pressure sensitivity, it's a good tablet. But my audience primarily cares about artistically drawing, so I have to give it an okay. Okay? So, static, this is my new name for this topic, static tracking accuracy. So let's talk about tracking accuracy means where the pointer is underneath the tip of the pen. Static means the pen's not moving. It's just totally held vertical and staying in one position. It's excellent. Wacom, across the entire screen, it's excellent. And Wacom has always been very good about static tracking accuracy. Tilt compensation is actually related to static tracking accuracy. It's almost the same thing, except you tilt the pen at like 45 degrees and you see the displacement of the pointer. And it's excellent. The pointer is almost always directly, like really very little variance from under the tip, and you can just see it. Here's vertical, okay? Now, I know in this photo, you're saying, hey, the tip of the black tip is like a little bit away, and that's just the parallax, okay? Don't overfixate. The question is, how does it shift left or right, depending on my tilt, okay? And if I tilt left, it really is in the correct location. If I tilt right, it's in the correct location. So it's excellent. This is actually fantastic. Even the Moving 13, does a great job of this, and like almost all Wacom tablets. No complaints. Diagonal wobble. So it is visible, but it's low and can be corrected. Actually, let me add that. That's actually a good point. Give me a second. Low can be addressed with smoothing and stabilization. Okay. Not sure why. I thought I made this edit, but it looks like it didn't make it into the... Right, so if you put like on basic smoothing, gets rid of it, and you can just see the wobble. It's probably really hard to see right now. You'd have to... This file is uploaded to my my OneDrive. I'm sure you cannot notice it on this YouTube stream. But there's a little bit of wobble at all speeds, by the way, at all speeds. And did I mention that in the first? I should mention that actually. Hang on. Low, present at all speeds. Okay. Now, pointer lag. It's okay. You know, I've been complaining about pointer lag for pen displays for years now, and this is pretty typical. It seems like, I swear right now, I think no pen display is really good at it. You'll notice it, but there's nothing really better. There's nothing really worse. It's fine. Even a Cintiq Pro has pointer lag. This much pointer lag. Pressure, low to high transition. That's just drawing and just seeing what happened with the strokes. And it's good. It's very typical for modern tablets, so it's nothing special to be good. It is good. Okay? Oh, Rem had a question. Is it fully laminated glass? Yes, it is laminated glass. Wacom uses the term bonded, but that means laminated. So here are the strokes. Don't pay attention to me being erratic. What you want to notice is the pressure transition smooth? And it is. You would get similar results from thick to thin with a Wacom Intuos Pro. You might look at it and say, hey, it's a little bit bumpy here. That's more a function of me not smoothly doing things, okay? This is fine. It's fine. I think I rated it good. Yeah, it's good. Now, there's another topic, which is what happens when you draw low pressure. So I know it's got a high IAF, but let's suppose you're dancing right above the IAF. Sometimes, and all pens do this, they kind of overreact to pressure when it's really low, and your hand can kind of bounce on the pen a little bit. So you might notice that your strokes get blobby. Even the best pen on the market, Pro Pen 2, Pro Pen 3, are more blobby than this pen. So this is good. And it's not a problem even if they are blobby, because you can use pressure curves and pressure smoothing to compensate. I'll give you an example of that. So here, here's the example. On top is just, I'm drawing right above low pressure. And you can see the pressure maybe jumps up and down It jumps up and down a little bit, and you'd like it more smooth. Just turn on, in Krita I used weighted smoothing with a distance value of 150 and pressure smoothing enabled, and looks fine. So artifacts at low pressure, the reason I test it is not because some pens have a lot less and some have a lot more. They do. It's just really to figure out, to make sure you know about it and to show you there are things you can do to help it, to address it, okay? Pressure banding. Now, this is not a topic I have actually discussed in any of my review videos. So I'm gonna have to teach you a little bit. The short is, it's excellent. I did not observe any pressure banding, but you need to see what pressure banding is. So let's talk about that first. So this is what I do is I draw with a constant width brush in Krita, but pressures map not to brush size, but to opacity. And I draw at low pressure, okay? I know you're looking here, and I try to keep it at constant pressure, but it's really impossible to. And so to you, it probably looks like these strokes are they're basically the same color. You probably can detect I'm starting off a bit light pressure at the beginning, but I'm getting slightly heavier toward the rest of the stroke. So in order to analyze pressure banding, you can't look at this photo or the screen capture. You have to turn on the contrast and take a look at what you see. I don't think most of you will see it with your eyes, but there is some banding here. But when you turn on the contrast, there's no banding here, but there's no banding here. You can see transitions. That's not banding. That's banding. Oops. This is banding, okay? Do you see it's how regular it is? It's the transitions sort of just, pressure gets lost in these very regular ways, or moves in very regular ways. This is banding, okay? And I'm showing this to you mapped to pressure mapped to opacity. This can affect strokes with width, of course, right? So this is how I detect it. So you've seen now an example of good pressure banding, meaning no pressure banding, and then bad pressure banding. Here's this tablet. This is the raw stuff I collected. and this is the contrast enhance. And I don't see any banding. I know, again, you see transitions, but that I think is just due to me. I don't think there's a pattern here of the same kind of problems. Okay, so to make sure. I'm not sure I'd say pressure accuracy. It's more like something's interfering with the pressure in a very regular way, if that makes any sense, Rem. Like the overall pressure is accurate. It's just like there's some weird dips in pressure or sudden transitions. It does affect accuracy in a sense, so that's fair to use the word. But I'm not sure exactly how to characterize it. And there could be better terms. So if you can think of a better way of helping me explain it, please let me know. So pressure range. Now this is, I want to talk about this again because it is a function of the pen, not the tablet, but you should understand a little bit more. So with these UDEMR pens, specifically here the numbers are for the Wacom CP923, they vary between 5 gram force to 9 gram force. This particular pen I got with this tablet was 9 gram force. And I tested it with the MoveInk 14. I tested it, the Wacom 114. I tested it with the MoveInk 13. I tested it with the Samsung Galaxy Book 5 360. I tested it with Intuos Pro Small 2025. All were right on 9 gram force. Okay? So I'm confident that measure for this pen was true. And you're going to see variance. So you should just be aware this is what you'll actually encounter. Okay? Hey, Voidouts has joined us. Thanks for joining us, man. Yeah, REM, that's probably a good word too. It is kind of a pressure interference pattern. And I don't know why it appears. And the first time I ever noticed it was with the Wacom 1 models that were introduced in 2023. Those pen tablets had awful pressure banding. There was a firmware update to fix it. It reduced it by like 90%, but it's still some there. That's why I don't recommend those two pen tablets. I don't think the pen displays suffered from it, but I'll have to double check, honestly. Okay, let's see. We have... Dermond, that's correct. That was the issue with the previous generation. Arch, welcome to the stream. Welcome to the stream. Wacom 1 is cool, but when do we get Wacom 2? Don't give them ideas, Arch. Because that is going to... that is going to confuse people. You know, if anyone knows the old Who's on First comedy bits, it's going to be like that. If you have to talk to someone about you want the Wacom, like you're choosing between Huion and Wacom, and you say, they ask you which one you want, you go, I want the Wacom 2, meaning you want both. It's just going to be a disaster. Okay, more comments. Let's see. I think you can call it constant pressure stability. Okay. I hope the word can, I'm hoping I can find a word that captures the regularity of it. Because it's stable, it just jumps in a predictable way almost, right? Rem, yeah, I did test that tablet. I tested two of them, by the way. The one by Wacom Medium. Oh, sorry. Did I test my current tablet? The CTL 672. I didn't make a video out of it, but I do have a document about it. I recommend it. I still recommend the tablet. In fact, since you asked, give me a second, and let me share with you my notes on the tablet. Okay? Let's see. Where's my keyboard here? Hang on. X72. Yeah, I will add these to the notes. Who's on First is one of the best skits. I'm not sure if it translates to a modern audience exactly. Because people may not get it. And it's one of those jokes that Europeans just do not get. It's just beyond. It's beyond Europeans. They just don't have any experience with baseball to understand the joke. In a similar vein, there's kind of a naughty joke in a movie called Hot Shots that I'll just say it for you. But for Europeans or non-Americans, it probably will make no sense. But for me, it's hilarious. A psychiatrist and her patient, who's played by Charlie Sheen, walk in the elevator, and it's like she has given him an evaluation about his mental health, and she's like, "You can't fly anymore." Remember, this is a comedy movie, and he goes, "You can't." He's like, "You got to be joking, right?" And he says to her, "I gotta put my full face on this." It's a little bit of a naughty joke, so he says, "You're joking." And she says to him, and she's this really beautiful lady, and she's got this wonderful Italian accent, and she says, "No, if I was joking, I would say, what do you do with an elephant with 3 balls?" And he's like, he just looks at her like, "I don't know." And she says, "You walk him and pitch to the rhino." Europeans will never get that joke. For me, it's it's very funny. Walk him and pitch to the rhino. That's how that joke ends. I'm waiting to see on the comments. Does anyone get the joke? Okay. Boy, yes. Who's on first? What's on second? I don't know who's on third. Exactly. Let's see. I got this for OC years ago. While I do find drawing on the screen easier, this is not... listen, the CTL 672, 472 are highly recommended by Cube for playing OSU. They're the most recommended tablets for playing OSU, by the way. They're goated, as they say. No. Who's on first is ancient. Ancient. In fact, hang on a second. Let me look it up. The age of who's on first. Because it's before... Oops.
It's really good. It was like 15 minutes long, so I don't know if I really wanted to dig into
I clicked on it.
But it's almost identical to what I've been talking
Hang on a
about
second.
when I talk about how women and men organize societies differently, which comes back to how they communicate, which comes back to how...
Sorry, everyone. Something just happened to the audio. It's playing, and I'm like, where did this come from? Okay, I'm not sure what happened there. That's weird. And audio cut out at the same time. Okay, hang on. Sorry. So, Dermond, that baseball one didn't make any sense for you? Where am I here? It is so funny. Something was playing my audio like from another device or something, and it just confused the heck out of me. And I just don't know what caused it. 1 second. That is strange. Okay, let's hope that with a temporary issue. And I think you're hearing me. If you're not, just let me know. Let's see if I can get back to where we were. Okay. Yeah, sorry for that confusion. I literally don't know what just happened. It's like a YouTube video started playing, and I was just totally confused. Okay, sorry. Who's on first? Let's find out. I'm looking up the Wikipedia page for this, so everyone knows what I'm doing here. By Abbott and Costello. Let's see. Apparently, the joke started in 1930, so it's like a 95-year-old joke. And Abbott and Costello did it in the 1940s, so it's an old joke, right? Wow. Okay. Interesting. Okay, sorry. Just felt like I had to do a little bit of cultural context. Okay. So pressure range. One more thing I want to talk about the pressure range, which I've said many times, but I'm I just don't know how to think about it, honestly. Okay, so how can I say it? I have thought quite seriously that UDMR pens, their IAF is nerfed on Wacom tablets. And they're better on non-Wacom tablets. And I always assume something weird is going on. So, of course, I measured this pen, the CP93, with several tablets. Wacom, Samsung, and it had the same IAF, 9 gram force. That's what the numbers reveal. That's why my very careful measurements, they were consistent, 9 gram force. But, on the other hand, my experience says that they feel like they have less IAF on Samsung devices. I am trying to sort this out. I don't know what's going on. It could be that the texture of the glass makes me think differently. I don't know. If anyone remembers the scene, you know what? I wonder if I can play it. Hang on. I did play it or share it on Discord. It's just a little scene, and I'm going to see if this works here. System audio. Okay, hopefully this works. And let me turn it on to the Mac. And that's not seeing it. That's funny. There we go. Okay. So it's this line here.
Who cares about Derek Zoolander anyway? The man has only one look, for Christ's sake. Blue Steel, Ferrari, Latigra, they're the same face. Doesn't anyone notice this? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
And that's
Who cares about Derek Zoolander?
And that's what it feels like for me right now. Because I don't understand. It just feels so completely true to my hands that there's lower IAF on my Tab S11 Ultra or any Samsung device than on my Wacom One or any Wacom device. I don't know. It's a huge mystery for me. So one, I hope I'm going to do more investigation. I would love if those of you who have a Samsung device and a Wacom device that are both compatible with one of these UDMR pens, any UDMR pen, tell me if you think that the IAF is lower on the Samsung than on the Wacom. So I'm going to retract any statement I've made that said definitely they're lower IAF on one or the other, because my data does not reveal that. But I will continue to investigate why I might be feeling this way. But I'd like you also to tell me what's going on. Let's see, Rem says conspiracy theory. It's so they influence you to spend more. Possibly. Yeah, I wouldn't put it past people to do something like that. Arch, oh, this is a good comment. In my opinion, the technological differences between drawing products are becoming increasingly smaller every year. So it's manufacturers' interest to try to convince people that they're very different. Fair enough. They have to differentiate themselves in some way, and we're gonna. I've said this many times. We are one, maybe two generations away from all the basics being great. Just 1 or 2 generations of development in those pens, and no one's gonna think that IAF is low IAF is restricted to Wacom. Many people will not be able to tell the difference. A lot of people can't tell the difference today. I have trouble even measuring the difference, and I have a lot of pens. So, what comes next, I don't know. They're going to have to innovate and differentiate their products in some very interesting ways. Rem says, Wacom is the Apple of drawing tablets. I feel they do it based on name alone. Well, look, I always say that Wacom they deserve, they are the leader in the market. They're the leader in the market, and they're the leader in the technology. And they deserve that. They've been working at this for 40 years. And the only thing I honestly really criticize Wacom for is the naming of their products. That drives me. Actually, there's two things: the naming and the having high IIF on their consumer line. Those are the only two things I take issue with. And one of them I can understand. They just have different priorities for naming or different strategy. And the other is also strategy related. They've been overall very reliable. Some tablets more than others. And they didn't innovate for a while, but this year has been a tremendous year of innovation. But those differences are going to shrink and shrink compared to the competition. It's happening. The Canvas Pro 19, Canvas Pro 27 are the first evidence we have of that happening. At the Pro, in the Pro space, Canvas 13 Gen 3 in the consumer space. It's gonna heat up. This is a battle that's coming. Well, I see. Art says Wacom does have an objective qualitative lead at the moment. Apple really doesn't have. Art. That's fair. That's fair. Value-wise, they're really behind. They are. I know kind of we're talking a little more broadly. One of the ideas, brainstorms I had in the Discord was maybe Wacom should abandon pen displays for the consumer. Just abandon it. I'm not saying abandon consumer products. I mean, I am so happy with the Movink Pad 11. Imagine a future where instead of having a Wacom 1, all the consumer devices from Wacom are pen displays, like the Movink Pad, right? That could be a really interesting thing. We could use them like a pen display. You could use them like a standalone. Why not? Right? Artist Pro 14 Gen 2 is $302 US. Koyo, I'm so glad you mentioned this because I would easily say between this Artist Pro 14 Gen 2 and this tablet, you should get the Artist Pro 14 Gen 2. I have no hesitation saying that. None. Rem says, continue, but the competitor drivers are closed source and sometimes not the best drivers. And why are drivers difficult? I don't know. I'm not going to guess that they're. I'm going to say that there must be good reasons, but I've never understood why we seem to have so many problems with drivers. I don't see people using mice or keyboards complaining about drivers, at least to the same extent. Maybe I'm not in that field enough, but it seems like tablet drivers are a source of pain. Okay, let's get back to tablets instead of Marc Jacobs. Pressure scan rate. I really should stop testing this because basically every tablet I've tested has been really good at this. You draw, maybe this affects maybe old tablets. You draw 50 quick strokes, none of them were missed. So that's excellent. And every tablet I've tried for years now has been excellent. Art says, I do think it'd probably be okay if they stop making consumer products. It'd allow other companies to gain more market share and develop faster. Of course, it has its own risk, new monopoly. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Who knows? We may see Project Patchouli influence more people to enter the space. Project Patchouli is a project to develop an open source tablet. They've done the digitizer, and now I think Yuki Dama, who's the originator of the project, is working on open source EMR pen. So that will be amazing. That should unlock some interesting hacking. Parallax with this tablet was very good. I was super surprised. There's very little gap between the where the pointer is and where the nib is. The glass is very thin. And here's a picture. This is a really extreme angle, right? Like no one is drawing at this angle, okay? And it is very good. The moving is probably better. I think it is better, but this is good. This is very good actually, and this surprised me about this tablet. Surface texture, it's for a pen display, it's okay. It's pretty typical. It will never feel like a pen tablet because pen displays just don't have as much texture. I found it, I tried different pens, it felt very similar to the Wacom Moving 13. I feel like the Moving 13 may have had a little bit more texture. But in either case, this was not slippery like a iPad glass. So it's fine. It's absolutely fine. Okay, hang on a second. I don't know why I put this here, but we're going to talk about it. Oh, I know. This should have gone after my talk about the pressure of the pen. So, remember I said there was some blobbiness, and that's to be expected. And you can add you can do pressure smoothing to get rid of it and pressure curves. And of course, like many EMR pens, the CP923, almost all of them, they're very overreactive at low pressure. So what you want to do instead of the default pressure curve is have one that bends down, like the one on the right, okay? Now there's a problem. Wacom does this weird thing with their consumer tablets. This is the Wacom One UI, and I think the same is true of the Wacom Tablet Properties app for this tablet. Do you see a pressure curve anywhere? I don't. Okay? And there is a pressure curve, we just can't see it. And it's actually this tip sensitivity slider. Okay? That actually controls the pressure curve, but they don't show you the pressure curve. So, for example, if the slider is in the middle, it means no pressure curve, I mean flat, right? Don't change the pressure. But if it's sliding to the right, it's bending down. Now, we don't know exactly how much it's bending down or if any other things are happening to it, but that's what this does. And you know that because when you see the pressure curve with, let's say, Intuos Pro, they'll show you what this does to that curve, okay? But with consumer tablets, for some really strange reason, Wacom does not want you to show the pressure curve, okay? Or does not want you to see the pressure curve. So with this tablet, since it's not clear what the slider does, for these kinds of changes, you may want to configure in the application, okay? So I just want to share that with you. Okay, ergonomics, a few things. Oh, well, we have a few comments, yeah. Maybe Project Patchouli will finally give us adequate tilt resolution and the new parameter war can start, with Wacom coming out with a 5,000 tilt levels pen. So there's two things we need out of tilt in the industry. Arch, you identify one of them, which is tilt. For anyone who doesn't notice this, you may never have noticed. You know how pressure has like 8,000 levels or 2,000 or whatever, but it's like in the thousands? Do you know how many levels of tilt there are? 60. 60 levels of tilt. And I don't know if people have ever noticed that. They might have. I can conceive of situations where you would notice it. So, Arch, I agree with you. There should be more tilt levels. The other thing is, there's a lag in tilt. Like pressure is detected pretty fast and communicated to the computer pretty fast, but tilt takes a little more time. And there's some experiments you can do that shows you this. I've seen a couple of people run them. I need to do them myself, but I need a way of doing the experiment more regularly or the testing more regularly. But I would like faster tilt, not just more levels. Let's see. In addition, I want both. Rem says, Project Patchouli sounds incredibly cool. I wonder if Framework would license their EMR tech for new laptops in the future. It's possible. I want Project Patchouli to succeed because I just want better drawing tech. So yeah, I hope this leads to that in some way, either directly or indirectly. Arch says 1D option when it should be a 2D option and even obfuscate the shape. I'm not sure how to interpret that statement, Arch. I genuinely think it's one way of streamlining it for consumers, but also to differentiate from pro lines. I'm not sure I interpret 1D, 2D option. Maybe you could clarify, Arch. Okay, ergonomics. So this tablet has no legs, and it doesn't come with a stand. However, the compatible accessory for this is listed. You can buy the stand. It's actually this stand, the ACK652Z, which costs $100. Look, I'm sure it's a good stand. I'm sure it's excellent. It's $100. I'm not going to buy this stand. Okay. There's more comments. Let's see. Framework 12 already uses MPP EMR. Really? No way. I didn't think it was UDEMR. I thought it was maybe MPP or something. I'll research it. Can you find a source, Ram? I would love to see that. I'm referring to the pressure sensitivity slider versus graph. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, you're correct. Sorry. Thank you. $100 is a lot. Yeah. I mean, come on. $100 for... Look, I'm sure it's excellent quality and super durable and elegant, but it's a lot. This is a consumer device. So just to make sure everyone knows, I use this one. I use the Parblo. I don't even have a Parblo tablet. But I saw a review by Tio about this, and I use this one. And it's excellent. USI? Okay. Thank you for clarifying, Koyo. Yeah, Dermon, exactly. Does it make my drawings better now? This is a very stable stand that has, multiple, you can get any angle, right? Has lots of range. It works for anything 16 inches and under. I use it all the time, okay? I put my Samsung S11 Ultra on it. I put my, what do you call it? My Surface Pro. It's like I think it's like 12 inches or 13 inches on it. 16-inch pen displays, I put that on this. So this is a really good one. It's $40. So it's not super cheap, but this is good. And it's quiet and sturdy, right? You can draw on it, it won't like wobble. So this is good. Arch, maybe they mean 100 Zimbabwean dollars. Maybe. So not an ad for Parblo, but this is what I actually use, okay? And again, I was influenced to buy this from a Tio on Tech Video. Okay. Let's see. Oh, Arch, let's see. Tried the Parblo PR100 on my wood desk and it would just not cooperate. It slid around? Interesting. Because it's got rubber on the bottom, right? You went to a monitor arm and just adjusted it to be really stiff. Interesting. Arch, can you share in chat which monitor arm you're using? Because that is a super common question in Reddit and on the Discord. Okay, VESA mounting. Like most 16-inch, tablets of this size, this does not have any VESA mounting holes. It's just a flat back, right? So if you want an arm, you're gonna have to get one that's like designed for a laptop to hold it. Use the Huion folding stand. Oh, sorry. You're saying the Huion folding stand ST300 was more stable. Interesting. Rem, I will. There is plastic there, but I'll have to double. Sorry. You're talking about the tablet or the stand, Rem? Tell me. Yeah. Okay. Ergotron LX is actually a pretty decent stand. It's a pretty decent stand. I can understand that. Okay, now we're going to get into some complex topics, okay? Oh, sorry, not there yet, my mistake. So the primary input for a pen, a display tablet, is the pen, but there are other inputs like touch. Well, this tablet does not support touch. If you want a tablet that supports touch and a Wacom one, you're going to have to go with the Wacom Moving 13, which is like $750, or the Wacom 113 Touch, which is, I think, $500, okay? So there is no touch on this tablet. Be aware of that. Let's see. Arch, my tablet has no VESA hold, so I just use long strips of dual lock and it has it come off Okay, yeah. But you prefer screws. Thank you for clarifying. It's plastic. It's definitely plastic, Rem, not aluminum. Auxiliary inputs are this is my fancy name for buttons and dials and strips. There's nothing like that. There's no buttons here. Okay, this is where it gets interesting now. This is where things get weird, okay? And I know it sounds like the most boring topic, but we got to start with the port. Okay, I mentioned this already. There is only one USB-C port, okay? And it's on the left side of the tablet. The fact there's only one USB-C port actually creates problems. The Wacom 113 Touch and the Wacom 112 had 2 ports. So they've actually gone back. The Wacom 113 from 2019 only had 1 port, and it was proprietary. It wasn't a normal USB-C port. But they've gone back to even though this is not proprietary, there's only 1 port. And this has actually some weird consequences for us, okay? So, this is from their documentation, their Getting Started guide. This is how they intend for you to use it, okay? To be honest, this is really the only way you should use this tablet, for real. Single USB-C cable from the computer to the tablet. Now the good news is, they give you the cable that you need, okay? And there are requirements for these USB-C cables, and let's just make sure everyone knows the requirement. They have to be able to transmit enough power from the computer. They have to be able to transmit a video signal. That's called DisplayPort alt mode. And they have to be able to send and receive data from the computer. Random USB-C cables can't work. A USB-C cable has to meet all these requirements. The one they include in the box does meet all these requirements. And you can use like Thunderbolt cables. In fact, earlier today for a couple of hours, I was using a Cable Matters Thunderbolt 3 cable. Okay, so you can use non-Wacom cables. It'll work. I'd recommend Thunderbolt since it's guaranteed what Thunderbolt does. Okay, not that they're cheap, but it's guaranteed what they do. So, now besides the cable, this is where it gets, you have to pay real close attention. Your computer's USB-C port also has to meet some requirements. It has to transmit enough power. It has to transmit a video signal, DP alt mode, and it has to be able to send and receive data. Not all USB-C ports on computers can. You have to research this. And I would highly recommend that you not only research it, you test this before you buy this tablet. Because if you don't, you don't assume that your USB-C port is enough. Find a way to test it, because you don't want to get this tablet, connect the cable, and realize only then your computer does not support it. Okay, so this is just my warning for you to take this topic seriously, because if it's not true, you're gonna be in a world of problems here, and you're gonna see the problem in just a minute. If you've got a MacBook Pro with the Thunderbolt ports, those will work great. If you know you have a Thunderbolt port in any device, it'll work great with this. Okay, and it's more complicated. I'm very late to this. I wanted to do a video on USB-C connections. Maybe I'll do that this coming month, because there's more to it than just what I'm saying. But just be aware of this. Okay, let's see. Let's get now. What about HDMI connection? Okay. So the major issue here, they don't give you a 3-in-1 cable, and there isn't a 3-in-1 cable equivalent. First of all, you have to buy this thing called the Wacom converter. It's just a little box. It's just a small little box. It's like not even as big as a deck of cards. Okay, and it just has like 4 ports on it. Okay. Let's see. Rem has a comment. I feel this is made more for laptops than desktops, since most desktops don't really have USB-C ports. That's right. That's right, Rem. This will really work more with at least modern laptops than it will with desktops. So this is going to be an issue. I'm glad you said that, because I'm going to emphasize that in the video. It works more with laptops than desktops, because many desktops don't have the correct USB-C ports. Mac Mini does, and Mac Studio does, but not and a MacBook Pro does, but like a typical Windows desktop does not have the ports for this. Sometimes they have the ports, but you have to do extra things to make them work. It's really complicated. Okay, back to this HDMI connection. So what if you want to connect with HDMI because your computer doesn't have one of these ports? You're going to have to buy this Wacom converter connector. That's $80. Okay? That's $80 for the converter. But you're not done there. You have to buy everything that's circled. A USB-C to USB-A cable for data, an HDMI cable, a USB to USB-C cable for power, and a USB-C power adapter. You have to buy 4. So Wacom converter plus 4 things. You have to buy 5 separate things to work with HDMI. Can you imagine the stress someone's going to have about and the probability for failure in buying the right USB-C cables and the right USB-C power adapter? It's going to be stressful, and people aren't going to do it correctly, and it's going to be a pain. And that's why, really, for HDMI connection, you're going to be spending an extra over $100 to connect to the HDMI. This is not a tablet that is worth spending $300 plus $100 just to connect with HDMI. This is one reason you have to really, even though I recommend this tablet, you got to be careful about the situation you're using it in. Okay, you got to be real careful. Let's see, there's some comments here. Rem says, so if I were to hypothetically get this tablet, this wouldn't work with my setup at all. I don't have, exactly. Or you'd have to be spending a lot more money. For $400, you might be able to get a discounted 16-inch tablet, like a better one, right? From Huion maybe. So like it's just coming up in some, what was the one Koya mentioned? XP Pen Artist Pro 14. $400 right now. No, $300 he said. That's a much better choice than this tablet. And it works better in both cases. And that's consumer level for them, right? So yeah, it's when you add up these extra accessories and the stand is $100, it's getting crazy. It's getting crazy. So if you're in that narrow band of users that has, let's say, a laptop or any device with a Thunderbolt port, this is reasonable. But if you're not, I wouldn't get this tablet, okay? So I'm gonna get a drink of water. Yeah, Rem, you're right. It's gonna alienate some people, and guaranteed some people are gonna be surprised. I was surprised that they made it this way. Okay, and there's more to the story, by the way. Some of you are gonna say, maybe you had the old Wacom one from 2019, or who knows? Maybe you have one of your friends has an old Wacom, a Wacom 113 Touch, and you're like, hey, those had like 3-in-1 cables. Well, guess what? I tested. You can't. There's no other 3-in-1 cable that'll work with this device. I tested these, right? So the Wacom 1 X-shaped cable, that's from the Wacom one from 2019, does not work with this device. The Wacom 1 3-in-1 cable, which was for the 2023 Wacom ones, doesn't work with this device. Again, I tested this. So you have to get this Wacom converter to use this device. Okay? It's a real sad thing here. Interesting. Thanks for clarifying, Arch. Yeah, it should be included. It absolutely should be included, Rem. Let's see, Rem says, if a person who built their own PC didn't know if they had a Thunderbolt, a DP Alt mode compatible port, your average Joe is not going to know this. So this is going to be a nightmare. It is going to be a nightmare. I know, Rem. Dermont, I don't know. It doesn't work, though. Maybe, and they don't list it as compatible, these two cables. And I can understand if the X-shaped cable, that's a very proprietary cable. But the 3-in-1 cable just came out, and that works with the moving. So of course, I assumed it would work with this tablet. It didn't work. Maybe someone can get it to work, but it doesn't seem to work. Okay? And they don't list it as compatible either. So I'll try again. Who knows? Maybe I was wrong, but we'll see. So now you understand why I said you need to understand how it's going to connect to a computer before you buy the tablet. If you don't, and you need to use HDMI, it's going to be a real problem. So I recommend the tablet, but you got to be careful. Okay? Let's see. Rem says, I can foresee so many returns. Absolutely. So many returns. Let's see. Art says, I missed the USB-C header on my motherboard for over a year and eventually noticed it. I think most laptops now are having a lot of DisplayPort. Because they're having a lot of USB 4 ports I'm seeing, and Thunderbolt ports. I'm not sure everyone, but at least a lot of the laptops I've been buying have been like that. I love how USB-C was supposed to be the standard that does everything, and now there's more C versions than A. Yeah, it's just getting crazy. And you can't tell them apart. And most of them are unlabeled. The ports are unlabeled, the cables are unlabeled. So it's a real mess. Okay, so actually, that was my presentation. And so thanks for everyone for... I'll hang out if people want to hang out for a bit and answer questions. But this was useful for me to walk through it with you. It looks like the content here got almost everything. It had some good comments that I'll incorporate into the deck. And I'll start recording the audio tomorrow. Who knows? Maybe I'll actually do a video review as well. At least with my head in the video. Let's see, Rem. Factor in that the kind of person who's going to buy this is not likely to have the most modern laptop. Yeah, exactly. Like I say, it'll work good for education, but like, do teachers have modern laptops? I don't think they have a lot of good equipment. Their desktops, I don't imagine, are the latest. And even if they did, they wouldn't have USB-C ports, right? So again, like, it's a decent tablet in terms of drawing. It's probably not the right tablet because of practical reasons, right? Yeah, Arch, I know your point. There's a large number of tablets in market, that are on people's desks or with people that just don't meet the requirements. Right, plenty of people have not upgraded the laptop since USB-C and Thunderbolt became more popular, right? Let's see. When I was in high school, Rem says they had old laptops that barely charged with USB-C. This was like in 2017. Got it. Yeah, it's going to be confusing, and now that I'm seeing these comments, I think I'm going to double down early in this, when I do my review, and really talk about this topic and just say, hey, there's going to be a problem with HDMI. You're going to have to spend more money, and you need to understand that. And I think these points about many people don't have this laptop, I'll emphasize that in the final video. Rain says a lot of tablets are coming out. You might have a lot of work to put those into holiday buying guides. Yeah, well, I'm going to buy a few more tablets, but at least I will do a bunch of videos about I will do updated buying guides. I will say, though, that some tablets I'm not getting, like the Artist Ultra 16, because it's the same pen as before, and I think other people looking at the tablet will basically give you all the information you need. I'll talk about it, but I don't think they'll have much specifically, I'm not going to get the tablet. The new Huion that's coming out, I think at the end of this month, I will definitely get that, right? I am hoping, maybe I'm being naive, I'm hoping we start seeing some pen tablets from Huion with PenTech 4.0, because I will absolutely get those and talk about those, right? Let's see. Rem says, is the cable essentially proprietary because it needs to carry all the power and data? No, the cable is not proprietary. It's just a standard USB-C cable that meets those requirements, and it's standard USB-C port on the tablet. The original Wacom one from 2019 did have a proprietary port and a proprietary cable, so that was problematic because the port got loose and you couldn't use any random cable with it. You had to get Wacom's cable. And yeah, that's another thing to spend money on if the cables are too short. Yes. Arch, I'm sure you can find an aftermarket cable that'll work, but the question is, will you be able to? Because most of the time, I can try. I mean, I can try. You're talking about something that does the HDMI thing? I don't know. Maybe it'll work. I mean, remember, I can get a Thunderbolt cable to work. But I know what Thunderbolt does because they tightly control the compatibility. So I think I'm really torn about this tablet, honestly. Because I feel like I do say I recommend it, but it's in practical terms, it's going to be difficult for people to use. I think some people are going to be very frustrated with it. Oh, let's see. Rem says, by essentially proprietary, I didn't mean literally. I meant that it basically is to the point of being almost proprietary. Yeah, okay. That's what you're saying. Yeah, that's fair, Rem. Thank you for clarifying. And let me check the Discord to see if there's any interesting comments. Art says, most of the time with cables, it's just maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. Yeah, it's a big problem. It's a big problem. Sometimes I know a Thunderbolt cable should work, but it just doesn't. I don't know why. Wacom seemed to be very flaky in this regard. Like, I think my Cintiq Pro for a while had some difficulty using Thunderbolt. I just had to always use Cintiq Pro 27. I always had to use the specific cable that came in the box. I don't know what the issue with that was, or if it was deliberate. Let's see. Dermon says, I guess it's like USB-C cable of the Nintendo Switch 2. It's like a handshake that only works with a dock. Possibly. Rem, they lost me needing to buy an HDMI adapter for $80 to use it with a desktop setup. Yeah, and I think I like your phrasing. I'm gonna say it that way when I begin the video. Like, you're gonna have to spend $100 if you want to connect with HDMI. Because I think that gets the point across quicker. You'd be surprised how many manufacturers simply lie about their devices being USB standard certified. For example, who is there to check it? I've always had the sense, maybe I'm incorrect, that at least with Thunderbolt, there was more rigorous checking. Tell me if that's not true. A hilarious example is the flight sim company WinWing certifies their stuff to USB 2 standard, so 100 milliamps draw. They often draw 800 and won't actually run from an unpowered 2.0. Interesting. 2.0 port. Rem says, shame, because I could kind of see if you live in like a mobile home and have a small PC setup. Yeah. It's going to be tough for a lot of people. Arch, putting chips in the cable ends that stop it from working at the correct check isn't passed. Should be criminal, punishable by death. I'm agreeing with you. Hey, we have to have a zero tolerance policy for cable tomfoolery. And sometimes, punishable by death is the right solution for, these kind of cable issues. Okay, I'll hang out a while longer, see if there's any more questions. This was really, really good stream. I'm glad we got this chance to go through this device in detail. Let me check let me review the Discord chat real quick. I don't know if they're talking about this tablet. Rip Nintendo. Okay, looks like they're just moving on to random topics in chat. Let's see. Sony 2 with their cameras. Oh, Rem, that is the Intuos Pro Large from 2017. If you open the box, inside there's it's artwork from that box. So that's actually what's behind me. Actually, I'll see if I can find a picture of it just to show you, because my camera will not focus on it if it sees my face. So give me a second. Let me see if I can find a photo. Because it is quite pretty, honestly. Oops. Let's see. Okay, laptop. Yeah, here we go. Let's see. We want Intuos Pro 2017 large box. Hopefully I can show it to you. I just saw it there a second ago. So it's not, this is on the box, this circle with art, but it's actually deeper than that. Let's see if I can find a picture of it. It's like when you open the cover. There it is. This is actually what it is. So someone has taken that art and made a cover out of it. So, but this is what it actually looks like back there. It's actually really nice. I would really love, honestly, a huge mural of it. Something I would put behind me because it's just so interesting. And someone in one of the stream team pointed out who the artist was. Let's see, Art says, the reasoning for USB having chips in the ends was for security or whatever, but of course, it's just used for nonsense tomfoolery. Yep, that's exactly right. And I'll find the actual image, Rem, and put it in chat so you can see the full. It's really quite stunning. I'll put it in the Discord, I mean. Art says, fun fact, I learned recently the USB power draw parameter and say USB tree view is completely fake except for the device. Really? It's just reporting stuff, huh? Why am I not surprised? Art said, you can make everything and claim it draws 100 milliamps. No, Dearmond, this is not from the paper edition. This is just the standard Wacom Intuos Pro Large. Windows 7 had some great wallpapers, so at least I understand that feeling. I'm really happy with, and I love it. I do want a mural behind me with it. Oh, the turtle one. Let's take a look at that. Let's take a look at that. Let's see. I'll show you my favorite Windows 7 wallpaper. Windows 7 wallpapers. Oh, this is it, right? I think we got it. This is exactly the one you're talking about. Oops, clicking with the wrong mouse. This one. Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. I mean, I can see, it's this very like similar style. I can see why you say it. I vaguely remember this one. Vaguely. This I had. So this is at Microsoft. Remember, I worked for Microsoft. This is what was on my computer all the time. I love this one. I don't know. It was so wild. I think I remember this. I didn't like this. I mean, it's beautiful. It wasn't my taste. This one I did not like. Well executed. I just don't like. I didn't like the style. I thought it was just a little too not whimsical enough, maybe. This one scared me. I thought it was good execution. I didn't want people to see this on my screen. This one I can't even remember. This one, that can't even be real. This looks good. This reminds me of the old Zune commercial. That I remember. That was good. That I don't remember that one either. Yeah, my favorite was the... where's my mouse here? Yeah, that one. Right there. These little characters in their little suits. This one reminds me of The Littlest Pet Shop. Let's see, the reason I'm so angry about people not certifying the USB devices correctly is because I keep having concept disconnects due to badly routing my USB devices on USB hub. I understand that feeling. USB is a terrible rabbit hole, Art says, and not remotely as intuitive as the original idea was. Totally, totally. Let's see, Dearmon says, around that era, MTV had cool visuals too. I can't remember MTV from that era, clearly. Let's see. Yeah, all these really look cool. Art says, it also made me aware of how terrible most motherboard USB controller setups are. Sometimes they have 4 ports on one. Yeah, that's right, that's right. I only recently discovered this kind of topic. Littlest Pet Shop? Okay, yeah, let's take a look. I'm not going anywhere, so I'm gonna have nothing else to do, did I? Littlest Pet Shop. Let's see. I'll go to images here. Is this the right thing? I'm not sure this is taking me to the right place where I can see. Is Liz... Let's see. Let me go back here. This is probably... I'm an adult. I swear to God, I just want to find the images and they're taking me to every other conceivable thing in the world. So these are toys. I've never heard of this. Let's see. Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. It's the dog cat looking toys. Okay, let's see if I can find it. Littlest Pet Shop dog toys. Let's see. I hope this is gonna work. Okay, I think this is probably what you're getting at. Something like these, eh? Yeah, I would agree. I see the resemblance. This especially reminds me of them. Okay, let's see. Arch is talking about USB. Let's see. These were big collector items in the early 2000s. Got it. Yeah, I've never heard of it. See, first time I found out there's practical consumer device related USB limits when troubleshooting my microphone. So I output it into speakers and got hit by Max. Oh, yeah. I've had something similar happen. You know, it's like that scene. What's that? The Star Wars prequel movie, the one where Anakin and Obi-Wan are on that lava planet, and they're fighting. And what does Obi-Wan says? Like, you were supposed to bring order to the Force, not destroy it. So, like, these USB standards were like that. They were supposed to bring, you know, ease of use and harmony and order to connecting devices and peripherals. But instead, they've totally just destroyed everything. It's gotten more complicated by far. Got it. They're very popular. Yeah, I would not have known that. Revenge of the Sith? We're going to look this up. Not sure. My memory of the prequels is, let's see, SW prequels. Let's find out here. Yeah, Revenge of the Sith. That's it. That's Revenge. Wow, that's 20 years ago. You know, I did not enjoy watching those movies when they came out, but I watched all three in a marathon session last month, and actually, you know what? My opinion has really changed. And it's not just nostalgia, because I don't have a good memory of them. I like them a lot more on the second, and actually I watched them a third time in the space of like a month. We had some friends who wanted to watch, and I was like, I like them now. I still don't like Jar Jar, and I still really didn't care too much for the kid's behavior. He was a little too precocious. But overall, I liked it a lot. And I think it just took time for me to overcome my expectations, which were very high and very specific from the original movies. And by the way, I'm old enough. I actually watched the original Star Wars, which was just called Star Wars, by the way, in the theaters. I remember it very well, like incredibly well. Like I literally know the exact mall my mom took me to watch that movie. It is truly hard to convey how Star Wars took over the world and every little kid's head in 1977. Let's see. Rem says, I had some dog ones myself. They made dog, cat, bunnies, deer. Okay, interesting. You became what you promised to destroy. Something like, okay. Oh, I like that. That's a good line. But that's what USB-C has done to us. The most ingenious part about USB-C is how the part that breaks is the female end. So what? Oh, really? I didn't know that, Arch. I don't think I've had a USB cable actually break. But I think you mean like the ports get loose, right? Because I know lots of people have had to have them on their tablets, and if they open it up, they see the connectors come loose. I think that's what you mean. Somehow USB-C breaks 10 times more often than USB-A or USB-B, despite being certified 10 times more cycles. I have to admit, I'm actually always nervous about USB-C. I perceive it as more dangerous or delicate, whereas USB-A seems like, and B, of course, seem like really, they look rugged, and they're thick, right? I'm a Star Trek kind of person, not necessarily Star Wars. I'm the same way, actually. I actually liked Star Wars as a kid. I kind of didn't care for it for a long time. Then I fell in love with it again when a game called TIE Fighter came out in the 90s or the 80s, and then kind of just been. I haven't watched a lot of the new stuff. I just don't care to. Though Rogue One was excellent. Rogue One was actually, I loved that one. But Star Trek was my jam, especially Deep Space Nine. I loved Deep Space Nine. But I loved all the Star Trek. But I haven't seen the most recent stuff. I kind of avoid that. Star Wars had a different vibe, more like a magic and medieval tale, but in space. The prequels are more like... Yeah, absolutely. Dermont, I would agree with that. Absolutely. It just had a very different kind of story it wanted to tell. Like, for Star Trek was like social commentary, really. But Star Wars wasn't commenting on social issues in any way. Arch, it's pretty rare for USB connector cables to actually break. From where? I think testing cycle is super brutal at high temperature or something, but more so, when you're yanking. I see. Yeah, I could believe that's where the stress comes in. Rem says, I wouldn't say Star Wars is bad, but it seems kind of overemphasized for the sake of movie, then more grounded and realistic. Which is funny because like I know where this has now become a Trek. It's now become a sci-fi stream. It's interesting you say that because in some ways Star Trek is more realistic. Like the way tech works in Star Wars. I mean, because tech is like dirty and used and scratched up and things are breaking all the time. In Star Trek, the technology is more advanced. Like there's no teleportation in Star Wars, but Star Trek you can like teleport all sorts of things. They don't even have to, they teleport most of the time. And their computers are clean. Everything's clean in the Star Trek universe. Except maybe on like, I don't know, it's probably worse on Klingon's planet or Cardassia maybe, or Bajor. You can tell I like Deep Space Nine, right? Dermond, I love Battlestar Galactica, but like I only remember the 1970s series. I know of one in 2003, and I think there's a new one, but I haven't seen any of those. My memories are so locked into the 70s. Honestly, sometimes I don't want to see the story evolve. I'm like, I just want to keep it where it is, right? Though I recognize that the 2003 series, I guess, with James Almost was really good. And the fight scenes were amazing, which of course the original did not have that level of combat scenes. We're all nerds here, don't worry. Good. Every sci-fi is terrible after you read or watched The Legend of Galactic Heroes. I've never heard of that. What is that? I hope this is not a risky search for me. Legend of Galactic Heroes. I'll watch it. And I'm curious. Yeah, totally willing to watch it. Okay, since we're on this topic, we're going to do something special, okay? Since we're on this topic, I'm going to just share with you my top sci-fi recommendations real quick, okay? So, number one is... maybe I should say number one. Let's say that these are in no particular order, okay? But I just like them, okay? Number one, I really like A Dark City. That's like a 1990s kind of movie, okay? Like maybe 1998, that kind of thing. Of course, my Terminator, the original one. Love that. Right? What was another one that's probably uncommon that I liked a lot? I don't know. It's suddenly hard to remember now that I'm trying to think about them. Okay, I'm going to check. Hang on. I'm going to check something here. It's so hard to think. I was not a big fan of Avatar, oddly enough. Let's see. Matrix, yeah, of course, you're right. You cannot avoid the Matrix. That is a required movie to in the list. Absolutely. The Matrix. Predator. I will call that sci-fi. I like it a lot. Aliens. I actually liked all the Alien series, by the way. Hated Prometheus. Total Recall. Yeah, come on. Of course. That is absolutely great. Hang on, we're not stopping here. We're gonna find out a good set of these. These are ones I actually, and it's not just, I know some of these are relatively old, but I'm not stuck in like only old movies. But it's sometimes hard to remember which new ones I've watched. I'm not sure I really liked Avatar that much, honestly. Blade Runner was excellent. Yeah, that's good. That is a really good one. I'm trying to find a list of movies that actually, you know what? Instead of doing this, I'm gonna pick from a list by searching, because it's easier to pick from those lists. Oh yeah, Demon Seed. That's a wild ride. I mean, it's wild. Colossus, the Forbin Project. Colossus. What is it? I like Logan's Run a lot. I mean, it wasn't bad. I just didn't. I just thought the story was so basic, right? I wanted something a little more challenging, maybe. Though I did think, who played the bad guy? Stephen Lang is the actor. He is great in that film. He stole the show as far as I can tell. Let's see. I'm just find a list. So it'd be easier for me to pick if I see a list, and I'll just tell you. Oh yeah, 2001: A Space Odyssey. How could I forget that one? And to be honest, 2010: A Space Odyssey is equally as good, in my opinion. 2001: A Space Odyssey. Let's see if I can quick. I didn't think Westworld was that great. Contact with Jodie Foster, good. That was good. That's like real. I mean, that's like such a classic sci-fi. Silent Running. Silent Running is a favorite of mine. The Black Hole, Disney. I think that's like 1979. And I'm focusing things on that are really somewhat more silent. Sorry, real science in there. Let's see. And I don't want to just put, Starship Troopers. I know some people hate Starship Troopers, but I think it's a fantastic film. That's a good question, Rem, about Idiocracy. Let me think about this one. You know, I guess I don't consider it sci-fi. Honestly, I think that's, and the reason for that is, it doesn't make you think about sci-fi, right? Like it's just it could have been magic that's involved with why this guy is asleep for, several hundred years, right? But I like the movie. I will say I liked it more when I watched it than now. Now it's just kind of somewhat funny, but I really loved it when it came out. I thought it was the funniest thing I'd ever seen. Yeah, the original Planet of the Apes is good. Absolutely. That deserves to be called out here. let's see. The Fly, science horror. The Fly, Jeff Goldblum. Let's see. The Fly. There's like an older version, but I mean the one with Jeff Goldblum. Okay, I know people are gonna like, I'm really being a boomer, but with this next answer, but honestly, Tron. It's actually worth watching the 1980s Tron because it's so like different from what you might expect. Silent Running is a really interesting movie, Rem. Basically, it's sci-fi with an environmental twist and spaceships, right? It's really interesting. Let's see. I didn't care for Pacific Rim. It was fun, but I was like, Oh, one of my favorites, which is also super fun, which really is about science and society. Demolition Man with Sylvester Stallone and Wesley Snipes. Really good. Oh, Altered States is sci-fi as well. William Hurt. Oh, Predestination. If there's one movie I would, like right now, that I would actually recommend people see because it didn't get enough attention when it came out, is Predestination. They Live with Rowdy Roddy Piper. Soylent Green was okay. I didn't think that much of Snowpiercer. It was okay. Galaxy Quest. Sci-fi comedy. If you like Star Trek, honestly, this is the movie to watch. Galaxy Quest is... So I'll just tell you the concept so you'll get it. So Galaxy Quest is one of the best Star Trek movies ever made. And here, let me put my face on camera here. We're going to talk about Dune in a second. Galaxy Quest is about a sci-fi TV show from the 70s, and the show is over for 20 years, and the actors are doing conventions. And at one of the conventions, they get essentially kidnapped by aliens, like real aliens. And by the way, I'm not ruining the surprise. This is everything that is told in the trailers, okay? The aliens have been receiving TV signals, but the aliens are from, somewhere else, some other star. But they don't understand they're watching a fictional show. They think it's a reality, like documentary. And they've based their entire alien society and tech around the way the show operates. Not only that, they saw all these like teleporters and fancy tech. The aliens didn't know that was fake, so they actually invented the tech. Okay? So they're bringing these characters onto the ship because they want these characters to like fight a war for them and be leaders of their race so they can avoid destruction. It is one of the funniest movies I've ever seen, and if you like Star Trek, it pokes fun at Star Trek, but it's very loving with Star Trek. And I think you will really, really enjoy it. It's so funny. And Sigourney Weaver is in it, from Aliens. So she does a great job there. Okay, Dune. Yeah, look, I liked both the Dunes. When I say both, I mean the 80s and 90s. 80s and the recent one, right? They're both good. I love the first Dune. It's so wacky and weird. And I have not read the book. I like the first one from the 80s, and I love the ones that came out this past couple years. Solaris was okay. Let's see. We're going to have to open up a new page here. Hang on. Let me delete some of this content. Moon. That's a good one. Moon. The Martian was good. Yeah, I would say that. I hated Gravity. Did not like that film. I didn't hate it. I just didn't like Sandra Bullock in it. The Martian was pretty good. The book was also pretty stellar. You can't see the PC? Now you should be able to. Now you should be able to. Tell me if that's not correct, Rem. Interstellar I did like. I thought it had its weak parts. Oh yeah, this is another one. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. That is excellent. And that's another one, just like with Predestination, try to see it. I liked Ender's Game. I did. I love the book. I did like it quite a bit. Close Encounters of the Third Kind is excellent. That's a Spielberg film, if I'm not. Oh, how can I forget this one? Wall-E, Disney film. Amazing. E.T. is also really good. That was that Spielberg or Lucas? I can't remember. Gattaca. Can't not talk about Gattaca. Of course, RoboCop. We talked about all the aliens, Matrix. Yeah, I think that's it's a good list. It's a good list, a decent list, right? Disney made a movie about a dude who jumps, but I don't remember how it is called. Is it the one with the guy that played John something? Oh, I can't remember this. I can't remember that. We have similar tastes, movie tastes. Well, these are good movies, right? I mean, everything I have named for you, I believe, has Hal the Robot, or the computer. That was 2001: A Space Odyssey. One of my favorite movies. Even its sequel, 2010, is extremely good. Very different kind of movie, but I liked it a lot. Yeah, all these movies I'm naming have, and I skipped some. John Carter was okay. John Carter was okay. That was the guy who got transported to Mars. I'm not sure what the jumps part was related to. Maybe it was a lower gravity. But yeah, these movies have stood the test of time. Some of them for many decades, like at 50 years, and so they were great stories that different generations have appreciated. Even some of these movies, I watched 2001: A Space Odyssey recently. That was a movie that had people who already had moon bases, right? It was filmed and released before we actually landed men on the moon, and it still looks fresh. It still looks like it's real. You would think it's real. It's so good. Hunger Games I liked. I wouldn't put it in a sci-fi category almost. Even though obviously there are some sci-fi elements. I liked it. I did like the Hunger Games movies, honestly. They were fun. And I think Jennifer Lawrence, who I realize she isn't everyone's flavor, but I think she's a tremendous actress. Absolutely, and funny as hell. And a fantastic choice for the role, I would say. He jumps. Oh, I see. Yeah. I think that's because it's like a lower gravity on Mars, and that's why he's he's able to jump high. Now I remember something like that. Dermont. Dermont says, that's why they say NASA contracted Kubrick. Yeah. You know, I think it's going to be hard. It's so hard to... Since I was obviously alive in the 70s, it's so funny to hear people say like all this filming stuff happened, because like things that were filmed in the 70s don't, there was no CGI back then. Like, so you really, it was difficult to do the things that are considered easy today. And they, even though some things look realistic, like they don't compare to reality. That's for sure. And what's funny is actually some photos from space or of the moon don't look real because there's no atmosphere for the coming between you and the object. So things don't match your perception the way you'd expect them to look. They look kind of almost artificial. So that's creating lots of conflict with people. Okay, Art says, flat Earth people are a bit crazy considering you can launch a satellite into orbit as a hobbyist if you really want to. Weird how they always avoid doing that. You know, I know actually one person who's a flat earther. And they're absolutely convinced, by the way. And I have never been able to dissuade them from that. And in order to understand his perspective, I actually started researching flat Earth. And I'll say this, to be fair to the flat earthers, the average person on the street who is not a flat earther would probably lose an argument with them, because they're extremely good about arguing their position and raising doubts in what you know, especially if you just believe it, but you haven't like gone through all the situations that you have to account for. And they can say things which would trip up most people. So by examining what they believed, it made me have my arguments ready for them. Not that I engaged in the argument, but it made me realize how little I knew before I prepared to understand their position, right? Sometimes I just say, so you believe in Earth. That's right. Art says, also, most space images are collages of very zoomed in images, so a lot of the perspectives are wrong. It looks fake sometimes. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that, but that's a great point, right? And it's going to get harder because we're now in an age, for a while we've been able to create, CGI. Now probably your desktop computer's NVIDIA card could simulate visually, like a moon landing very well. And now with AI, it's just going to get crazy, right? Flat Earth theory is wrong and stupid. Dinosaur Earth theory is where it's at. Well, since I do know people, or at least one person who's a flat earther, I try not to be too harsh with him. I don't challenge him on it all the time. I do continue to find a way. So I wouldn't, for example, if I was discussing it with him, I wouldn't speak in a way that was insulting to him. I try to find a common path, but what makes it difficult is he's not very scientifically literate. So some of the things I say, I think, if I asked him questions to think about, one of the tricks you always play, not tricks, techniques or tactics is, if you assume you tell the other person, well, let's assume what you're saying is true. What would be the follow-on from that, right? And if they have difficulty thinking in a kind of a scientific and very regular way, they will have problems also, or at least some people would have problems seeing the logical consequences of their beliefs, right? They just don't think like that, and so that can be very challenging. Anyway, I hope this person that I know will. I hope some way he can move out of it. It doesn't hurt him, but it's just he really does honestly, seriously believe that. Dermond, you got it right. You've got it right. It does get very personal. And in fact, he and I were out with friends, and I just mentioned, he mentioned that. He goes, "Do you believe this?" And I go, "Well, I don't believe that." I didn't say it with any force, but he was super upset. I couldn't believe. He felt I had, what's the right word? I had publicly, he didn't say this, but this is how I took his words. He said that, I was really putting him down, humiliating him, when all I said was, "Well, I don't believe what you just said." He took it as a real attack. So you have to be very, very careful. Let's see. I've met people who went through automotive engineering university and are doing their master's and still do not believe in sliding friction of materials. So people are really capable of any logic. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. And I guess we all have things we believe or are limitations in our mind. So we have to be cognizant that we also can be playing, we have irrational beliefs that we're not willing to question. Let's see, Drinkwater. Yeah, we got to find ways to live together, and I don't do things that make people not talk to me again. Yeah, absolutely, Drinkwater. And, this person I'm talking about is a good guy. He's actually a really good guy. And he doesn't push this belief, but he's, when he's had a little bit to drink, he'll be or smoke, I should say. He'll be very open about it. And I never realized it was such an important thing for him. I've often struggled to understand why it became so important, why it's actually part of his identity now. So, wow, we have really drifted far from tablets, haven't we? Who knows? Maybe I have a belief about tablets, which is like flat earth thinking. But yeah, we have to live together with people, and I don't judge them harshly for it. I really don't. I really don't. Let's see. Art says, the main thing is flat earth intersects with lots of other conspiracy theories. So anyone who believes in non-flat models, well, that is true with this person I'm talking about. It's gone into other things, right? As well as regular people who are not lizard agents believe in. All regular people who are not lizard agents believe in flat models. The Earth isn't actually round; it's an ovalate spheroid. I don't exactly remember why, but it's more egg than sphere. No, come on. It is. It's very slightly that way. It's not a super exaggerated shape. That's my understanding. Tell me if that's wrong. Dermont, I have an uncle that it's like that. The time we just accept. Yeah, that's good. That's what I do now. I don't bring up the topic, and when it comes up, I don't challenge it. And I think he's mellowed out on bringing it up too. So we're good that way. Boy, no, it's tablet Earth theory. It's all tablets. It's tablets all the way down. Let's see. I have to double check. I believe you. The question is how much? How much? Thu, how does the size compare to 13-inch iPads? Well, give me a second. I'll go get it. One moment. One moment. Okay, I am back. And I have now, let me take it out of its keyboard case. This is a iPad, okay? iPad 13. Or iPad Air. I think it's a 13-inch. It should be. And here is the Wacom 1. I'm going to hold them like this because it's a bit easier. So you can see that the Wacom 1, which is more vertical, right? Because it's longer, is a 16:9 aspect ratio. So it's definitely longer across the, and it's a little shorter though. Let me put these next to each other in an easier way. You see that? It's the iPad 13 is a little wider in this dimension, right? From left to right on the screen. Does that help? Does that help? Let's see. It's mostly academical though. I think it's fair to call it an average sphere shape. Is the Earth shaped as a Cintiq though? Like there doesn't exist a thing such as a flat surface. Everything has tons of hills and valleys, but it's just about how precise you fit. Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, it's definitely that kind of shape. It's definitely that kind of shape. Let's see, Rem says, sorry, next comment. 16:9 is a weird choice on a device that's small. That's a fair comment. I think I can understand why we see devices with this aspect ratio. I mean, it's probably more convenient for all sorts of reasons, like most content is, 16:9 these days. Also, if you're mirroring displays, I think it makes it convenient because to have the same aspect ratio, so you don't get black bars everywhere when you're mirroring displays. But for a standalone device, especially when you're going to hold in your hand, not that you're going to hold the Wacom 114 in your hand. For a standalone device, anything you're going to hold, 16:9 is a bit weird feeling, a bit unbalanced feeling. Maybe so it can look bigger. I just think I don't think that's the reason. I think that's it's just more convenient for a lot of factors. It's not because of they're wanting to 16:10 would give you more vertical screen space. So I believe, if someone can correct me, I think the XP Pen Artist Pro 14 is a 16:10. I know the 16 is. Oh, sorry, the Artist Pro 16 Gen 2 is. And I think the Artist Pro 14 Gen 2 also is. But I could be wrong about that. 16:10 is actually nice, honestly, because the extra height makes you feel like you've got a much bigger tablet. So I do appreciate it, actually. Art says, I remember the panic sometime back when the Earth's magnetic field rotation was reversing. Everyone thought it means the kinetic spin reversed and everything. Oh, yeah. Voidouts, the core, is that the one with Bruce Greenwood? Yeah, I remember it. I liked it. It's crazy. I mean, it's totally insane, the concept of how it works. But I loved it. I loved the movie The Core. When it comes down to it, average person really has very limited understanding of the basics of physics in the world, hence why weird. It's true. It's true. And, I say that as, returning to the flat earth topic, I thought that I'd be able to, I consider myself a relatively educated person, and at least half smart. I thought that I would pretty easily be able to dismantle every argument posed by flat earthers. It was really difficult. I mean, even with my supposed knowledge, I thought, wow, that's way harder than I realized, because these people had objections, which I had never thought about. So that made me research a lot more about why I had the beliefs I did. And it gave me a lot of thought. It gave me a lot of feelings of power to finally realize how much I didn't know. So it wouldn't surprise me if lots of people are missing out on some things, right? And not everyone is inclined to think in, well, I'm not a scientist, so I don't want to use the word scientific. Not everyone's inclined to think in certain ways, which would let you problem solve your way out of this, right? For example, I told you, not everyone is able to argue or deal with an argument which is like proof by contradiction, for example, which is it's a good tactic, right? Or it's a useful tool at the very least in understanding things. Let's see. Rem says, apparently the 2024 Pro Gen 2 isn't, which is kind of disappointing because I love 16 by 10. Yeah, those larger ones are definitely 16 by 9. It would be really interesting though, now that you mention it, to have a 16 by 10 at that size, honestly. Rem, I would be all there to normalize that. I think it's actually a great resolution, or not resolution, a great ratio, right? Half of me actually wants to go even further and get back to like a 4 by 3, honestly. I know that would be weird in some case. I will say there's a practical advantage with 16 by 9, and I'll tell you what it is. If you're using Clip Studio Paint, you put the palettes on the left and right, and then you have the aspect ratio you want. So that's why I think 16 by 9 actually works out in the end, because it gives you enough room for non-drawing things, at least for me. Not everyone uses Clip Studio the same way. Arch will be the counterpoint to this argument and request a 21 by 9 tablet. It's bad news to have something that's that wide. I'll say that. It's bad news because you're gonna have to use forced proportions, or it would only work really well on obviously a matching display. And if you have to use forced proportions, you're gonna lose a lot of that active area. For when you want to design either for very tall or very long wallpapers. Yeah, exactly. Void Out says spheroid tablet coming in 2026. Brought to you by LizardCom. I like that. That was a good one, Void Outs. I want a 21 by 9 so I can have more 16 by 9 drawing space with you on the sides. The problem is, wait a second. You want? Yeah, I can have more. But the tablet's active. Oh, I see. You're wanting both the tablet and the monitor to have 21 by 9. Fair enough. The fact that 16 by 10 was killed by TVs being 6 by 9 is criminal and should be a punishable offense to everyone. I don't know how we got there. I really don't know how we got to 16 by 9. Like, why was that special, right? 4 by 3 is better for web browsing and better for movies and anime. The production costs are lower and the composition is usually easy to work with. I could believe it. I would definitely agree that it's better for web browsing so you don't have as much wasted space. How many pages have you seen that like there's just nothing over, on the right side? Art says, bold of you to see I'm not an ultra-wide master race display user. Okay, hang on a second. Okay, it's just about midnight. I think we've gone through my original topic, and we hung out a bit longer to talk about sci-fi and flat Earth theory. And if anyone in my audience is a flat earther, remember, I will still help you with your tablets. We love you. We love you. Rem, it was probably chosen as the one format to save. Somehow costs had to play a part. It sucks though because you need a bigger monitor to have more vertical space. Yeah, that's right. Okay, everyone, I think I'm going to call it a stream. We've been going on for how much now? Almost 3 hours. Almost exactly 3 hours. I want to thank you for the lovely conversation. And who knows, maybe we'll do streams where we talk not just about tablets in the future, right? I do like chatting. It's been good to share. I'm glad some of you shared the movies that you liked, and hopefully you saw some in my list, some things that you'll see. And I recommend you try those out. I didn't anticipate having a sort of stream like this, but this was a lot of fun. Okay, everyone, have a great night. I'll be streaming again soon, and stay perfect.